Bodycam footage of GloRilla getting arrested has gone viral, and everyone's talking about it. The wild part is, she started that whole situation as the victim, yet it ended with her facing multiple charges. The details are actually crazy. Let's get into it. When the streets come for your crib. GloRilla, whose government name is Gloria Hallelujah Woods, got hemmed up on felony drug charges in Forsyth County, Georgia on July 22, 2025, following a burglary investigation at her crib. But check this out. Shorty wasn't even at the house when these clowns tried to come up. The 25-year-old Memphis queen was miles away, doing her thing performing at the WNBA All-Star Game halftime show in Indianapolis, when her life took this wild left turn. Let's run it back to Saturday, July 20th, 2025, around 1:30 in the morning, when this whole mess started jumping off. Deputies from the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office got a call about some burglary going down at Woods Pad, located about 40 miles from Atlanta. Now imagine your family staying at somebody's spot thinking you're straight, when suddenly you hear glass breaking, footsteps where they ain't supposed to be, and you realize some straight up strangers done broke into the house with you in it. According to the boys in blue, 3 suspects rolled up in the house and were in the middle of stealing stuff, including some high value jewelry. But these wasn't no petty thieves looking for some quick come up. These fools were bold enough to break into a celebrity's crib, brazen enough to keep going even when they peeped that people were inside the house. Real talk, the situation got heated real quick. An armed occupant, believed to be family staying at the spot, let off shots at these intruders. Can you imagine that terror? Someone you care about is out of town. You're supposed to be holding down their place, and now you're in some life or death situation with some armed jack boys. The suspects bounced out quick, and nobody got hurt. Not the people in the house or the burglars, who didn't seem to catch any of them shots. The law didn't play around with this one. Even with all that searching, drones flying overhead, K9 units sniffing around. They couldn't catch these suspects, but they did find some physical evidence that might belong to them. Think about all them resources they put into this. Drones, police dogs, detectives processing the scene. This was treated like the serious, violent crime it was. The burglary case is still open. But yo, here's where this story takes a turn that's gonna have you heated. While they're investigating what should have been a straightforward case of some fools breaking into somebody's house and stealing their stuff, something else caught the cops' attention. While they were working the burglary scene, deputies smelled a strong odor consistent with illegal narcotics at the residence. This got the Lanier Regional Drug Task Force involved, and they went and got a search warrant. Picture this scene. A family is traumatized. Their peace of mind is shattered. Their home got violated, and now they're watching law enforcement switch from investigating the crime against them to investigating them. During the search, authorities found what they called a significant amount of marijuana in plain sight and inside the master bedroom closet. But here's where it gets controversial. Some reports say GloRilla's lawyers claiming the amount was small, so we got different stories about exactly how much they found, which makes you wonder about how they're spinning this whole thing. They also found some unspecified Schedule I controlled substance. Now, Schedule I substances are the heavy stuff, drugs with no medical use and high potential for abuse like heroin, LSD, and Molly. But peep how vague they being with the description. We don't know what exactly was found, how much, or even if it actually belonged to GloRilla for real. The charges came down hard and fast. Because of what they found, Woods got hit with felony possession of marijuana over 1 ounce and possession of a Schedule I controlled substance, both felony charges under Georgia law. Remember, she turned herself into the Forsyth County Jail on Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025, and got out the same day after posting a $22,260 bond. Let's break down what this means for real. In Georgia, possession of more than 1 ounce of trees is a felony, and you could be looking at 1 to 7 years in the pen. For that Schedule I substance, they could hit you with 2 to 7 years for a first offense. So let's do the math on this. If GloRilla gets found guilty on both charges, she could be looking at 3 to 14 years behind bars. That's potentially more than a decade locked up for substances found in her own crib after she called the police because she was the victim of a violent crime. When word got out about GloRilla's arrest, the initial reaction was straight confusion. Here was a rising star, fresh off a major performance, suddenly facing some serious felony charges. But what happened next was something nobody saw coming. Instead of laying low, instead of letting her lawyers handle everything behind closed doors, GloRilla did something that would light up the internet and have everybody talking about justice, fairness, and keeping it real in the face of adversity.
Miss Woods was out of town when her residence became a target for a group of home invaders who most likely knew she wasn't there. What they didn't know was that she had family staying with her, and her family, they were traumatized by the violent interests of this group who grabbed high-value jewelry before taking off once they realized she wasn't home, or the home wasn't vacant. When her family members did the right thing, they called the law enforcement, called police. Instead of investigating the violent home invasion and theft of Miss Woods, they instead sought a search warrant when they spotted what they believed was a small amount of marijuana. Law enforcement then sought an arrest warrant for her, even though she hadn't been home for some time. No arrest warrants have been issued for the violent home invaders. Mrs. Woods is a victim, not a suspect. This is our tax dollars at work.
But it was GloRilla's own words that really set social media on fire. Woods took to X on July 24th, 2025 to speak her truth. And what she said had millions of people feeling like the system had done her dirty.
Now, GloRilla spoke out after this as well too, and she tweeted, she said, "It's crazy. My house got invaded on Saturday. I was in Indianapolis performing for the WNBA All-Star game, and instead of focusing on finding the suspects, they focused on some cannabis. Number one, no, I wasn't busted. Number two, my house got robbed. Number three, I wasn't home. Long story short, my house gets invaded and I'm the only one that gets arrested."
The response was immediate and overwhelming. GloRilla's post on X got crazy engagement with over 400 replies, nearly 3,000 retweets, and 17,000 likes within an hour. But it wasn't just the numbers. It was the passion behind those responses that showed just how deep this story hit people in their feelings. People on social media rallied behind her hard, expressing straight anger that she, a victim of a violent crime, was facing charges while the burglars were still running free. The comments weren't just supportive, they were heated, frustrated, and pointed to what many saw as some real injustice in how this whole case was being handled. From victim to victory lap. Most celebrities, when they're facing serious felony charges, go ghost. They let their lawyers handle everything, they stay out the spotlight, they try to wait for the storm to pass. But GloRilla ain't most celebrities. What she did next was either straight genius or completely reckless, depending on who you ask. But it was definitely bold, authentic, and showed exactly why she's become such a powerful voice for this generation. Instead of hiding from the controversy, GloRilla decided to embrace it, own it, and flip it into something that would actually benefit her career and her message. And the way she did it was nothing short of revolutionary in how modern celebrities can control their own narrative and get their bag at the same time. GloRilla turned the arrest into a branding opportunity by dropping $40 merchandise featuring her mugshot, a move inspired by artists like Travis Scott. Think about that for a minute. Instead of trying to distance herself from the arrest, instead of acting like it never happened, she literally put her mugshot on t-shirts and started selling them to her fans. This strategy capitalizes on the publicity, potentially appealing to fans who respect her defiance and authenticity. But this wasn't just about getting that paper. This was about making a statement. By selling merchandise with her mugshot, she was basically saying that she wasn't ashamed, she wasn't hiding, and she wasn't going to let this arrest define her in a negative way. The merchandise got distributed at her Glow Bash concert in Memphis on July 25th, 2025, keeping her in the headlines and transforming a negative situation into a marketable narrative. And the timing was perfect. Just 3 days after her arrest, she was back on stage in her own city, showing the world that she wasn't going to be stopped by legal troubles. But let's talk about that concert for a minute, because what went down there showed just how much her fans had her back and how she was able to use this controversy to actually strengthen her connection with her audience. Her first annual Glow Bash in Memphis on July 25th, 2025 went down as planned, showing her resilience. Her ability to perform at the WNBA All-Star game in Indianapolis right after the incident, and her bold return at Glow Bash, coming through the bleachers in dramatic fashion, shows she's prioritizing her career despite legal pressures. Picture this scene. Just days after getting arrested, facing potentially years in prison, GloRilla makes a dramatic entrance at her own concert, walking through the crowd like a queen returning to her throne. The message was clear. She wasn't going to let this arrest slow her down, silence her voice, or stop her from connecting with her fans. If anything, it seemed to give her more energy, more to fight for, more to prove. But the merchandise strategy, while brilliant from a marketing perspective, wasn't without risks. However, this approach carries risks. While it might connect with her core fan base, it could turn off brands or corporate sponsors who don't want to be associated with legal controversies. Her previous endorsement with Fenty Beauty, for example, could face scrutiny if the case draws prolonged negative attention. This highlights one of the biggest challenges facing GloRilla right now, balancing keeping it real with commercial viability. Her fans love her because she's authentic, because she speaks truth to power, because she doesn't back down from a fight. But major corporations and brands often prefer their spokespeople to be controversy-free, squeaky clean, and unlikely to generate negative headlines. It's a tightrope, a walk that many artists struggle with, but GloRilla seems to be betting that her authenticity will ultimately be more valuable than corporate approval. And given the response from her fans and the general public, that might be a smart play. The hip-hop industry has a history of artists navigating legal troubles without derailing their careers, provided they maintain fan support and continue producing quality work. GloRilla's Grammy nominations and collaborations with artists like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion position her as valuable talent. And this is crucial context. GloRilla isn't just just some random rapper who got arrested. GloRilla, a 25-year-old Memphis native, blew up in 2022 with her Grammy-nominated hit FNF, Let's Go, followed by collaborations with artists like Cardi B, Tomorrow 2, and Megan Thee Stallion, Wannabe. Her 2024 debut album, Glorious, earned 2 Grammy nominations for the single Yeah Glow. These aren't small accomplishments. Grammy nominations, collaborations with A-list artists, chart-topping albums. This is someone who has already proven her talent and her commercial appeal. And that track record might be exactly what saves her career despite these legal troubles. Her record label has expressed support, emphasizing her presumption of innocence, which could stabilize her industry standing. Having industry support is crucial in situations like this because it signals to other potential collaborators, venues, and business partners that working with GloRilla is still considered acceptable despite the controversy. But let's keep it 100 about the challenges she's facing. However, repeated legal issues such as her prior DUI arrest could raise concerns about reliability, potentially affecting future deals or festival bookings. This is where her past starts to catch up with her. This arrest marks GloRilla's second legal issue in Georgia within 18 months. In April 2024, she got arrested in Gwinnett County on charges of driving under the influence, DUI, open container, and failure to obey a traffic control device after Sewanee police pulled her over for making an illegal U-turn at a red light.
Hey, I'm Officer GloRilla, Sewanee Police. So the reason I pulled you over today is because you made a U-turn at a red light.
My GPS is taking me to walk past this like
And it took you over there? Okay, so do me a favor so we can get out of this roadway. I'm gonna need your driver's license.
Officers reported smelling weed and alcohol, noting Woods had watery, bloodshot eyes and appeared unsteady during a field sobriety test.
So, in just a few moments I'll have you step out. But not only can I smell alcohol coming from your breath, but I can also smell marijuana coming from this car. Okay? So, in just a moment I'll be searching this car. Is there anything that I'm going to find in this car?
I have a gun registered to my name.
A gun? Okay, where is it? It's okay, you don't have to reach for it. Where is it?
It's in the car.
Where is it?
In the car.
Yes, ma'am. Where at?
It's in
Just
my
for
back
my
seat.
safety. Okay.
Yeah, it's in my back seat.
Where is it? Like in a bag or?
No, it's just in the back.
Okay. All right. And you need marijuana?
Not nothing I can register.
That's not what I'm asking. I just want to know. I mean, I'm gonna find it either way. I
It's
can
maybe
smell
like 2 points something.
Okay. Okay. Where's it at?
I can give you one.
It's okay. It's okay.
I know it's very much.
We'll wait. It's okay. We'll wait for now. Okay.
You want to see it?
No, ma'am. I'll get it in just a moment. Okay.
Yeah. You know that. I'm
So-
not jumping.
Okay. Well,
Do you know who I am?
No.
She admitted to drinking but claimed she was good to drive. She was released on a $1,956 bond. Body camera footage later released by TMZ showed her struggling with the sobriety test. This DUI incident, combined with the 2025 drug charges, marks her second legal issue in Georgia within 18 months, raising concerns about a pattern of legal troubles. While the DUI case didn't significantly hurt her career, she continued to release music and perform, including her Glorious album and WNBA All-Star Game appearance. It added to her public controversies. But here's what's interesting. Despite these legal issues, her career has actually continued to grow. She's gotten bigger, not smaller. Her platform has expanded, not contracted. Her influence has increased, not diminished. So maybe the traditional wisdom about how legal troubles hurt celebrities doesn't apply in the same way it used to. And there's another factor to consider. The cultural context of her arrest has turned her into something more than just an entertainer. The arrest has sparked broader conversations about law enforcement priorities and the treatment of Black women in the justice system. GloRilla's case, highlighted by her attorney's criticism of warped law enforcement priorities, has become a focal point for discussions on systemic inequality. This could elevate her status as a cultural figure, aligning her with artists who use their platform to address social issues. Think about artists like Tupac, who became more influential because of their legal troubles, not despite them. Or more recently, artists like Jay-Z, who have used their experiences with the justice system to build credibility and authenticity. Even in the midst of serious legal troubles, people are talking about how she looked good in her mugshot, how she handled herself with class, how she turned a negative situation into something she could control. That's not something that happens by accident. That's the result of someone who understands media, understands her audience, and understands how to maintain power, even when the system is trying to take it away from her. Hip-hop's history with drug charges. Real talk, GloRilla ain't the first artist to catch felony drug charges, and she damn sure won't be the last. The hip-hop game has been dealing with this type of drama since day one, and some of the biggest names in the culture have found themselves in similar situations. But what's wild is how different artists have handled their cases, and how some turned their legal troubles into career fuel while others saw their whole world crumble. Let's break down how some legendary figures navigated these choppy waters and what lessons GloRilla can learn from their experiences. Let's start with Lil Wayne, who's been through this rodeo more times than most. In 2008, Lil Wayne was arrested in Arizona for felony possession of narcotic drugs, cocaine, dangerous drugs, ecstasy, and drug paraphernalia after a border patrol search of his tour bus uncovered 105 grams of marijuana, 29 grams of cocaine, and 41 grams of ecstasy. Yo, that's not just personal use. That's some serious weight that could have landed him decades behind bars. He faced up to 3 years in prison, but pleaded guilty in 2009, receiving probation instead. But that wasn't Wayne's first dance with the law. Earlier, in 2006, he faced felony drug charges in Georgia for possession of marijuana and prescription medication, and in 2007, he was arrested in Idaho for felony possession of a controlled substance, marijuana. The dude was basically playing legal roulette, but somehow kept landing on his feet. What's crazy is how these legal troubles affected Wayne personally and professionally. Lil Wayne's repeated arrests compounded personal struggles, including his public battle with codeine addiction, lean, which he discussed in songs like Three-Peat. The legal pressure was adding to his stress, especially during his 2010 stint at Rikers Island for unrelated weapons charges, which overlapped with his drug-related legal issues. But here's where it gets interesting. Despite the felony charges, Lil Wayne's career remained strong. His 2008 album, Faye Carter 3, topped charts during his legal battles, selling over 2.8 million copies globally. The Arizona case resulted in probation, allowing him to continue touring and recording, though he faced temporary bans from certain venues due to his legal record. His grind didn't stop. He kept dropping mixtapes like No Ceilings in 2009, maintaining his relevance. Now let's talk about the Notorious Big, who dealt with similar drama but in a different era. In 1996, Notorious Big was arrested in New Jersey for felony possession of marijuana, 50 grams, and 4 automatic weapons after a police raid on his home. This was during the height of the East Coast-West Coast beef, so the pressure was already through the roof. The 1996 arrest occurred during a tumultuous period in Biggie's life, marked by the East Coast-West Coast rap feud and personal threats. The legal pressure made his stress worse, contributing to paranoia. But career-wise, Biggie's arrest had minimal impact. He was released on bail, and the charges didn't result in significant jail time, allowing him to continue promoting Ready to Die and working on life after death. His fan base stayed loyal, viewing his legal troubles as part of his street persona, similar to how GloRilla's fans have rallied behind her narrative of being a victim. Then you got artists from different eras, like David Bowie, who faced similar charges but in a completely different cultural context. In 1976, David Bowie was arrested in Rochester, New York, alongside Iggy Pop for felony possession of marijuana, about half a pound, after a concert. The charge was reduced to a misdemeanor, and a grand jury declined to indict, dismissing the case. What's interesting about Bowie's situation is how it became a turning point for him personally. Bowie's arrest came during a period of heavy drug use, particularly cocaine, which he later admitted nearly derailed his life. The incident, though resolved quickly, was a wake-up call, prompting him to address his substance abuse. Unlike GloRilla, whose arrest involved a home burglary, Bowie's was a straightforward possession case, but both faced public scrutiny that tested their resilience. The arrest had little lasting impact on Bowie's career. He continued touring and released Low in 1977, a critically acclaimed album. The charge's reduction and dismissal minimized professional consequences, and his fan base remained supportive, viewing the incident as part of his rock star persona. Now let's get into Snoop Dogg, who's probably the master of turning legal troubles into brand opportunities. Snoop Dogg faced multiple felony drug possession charges, including a 2001 arrest in Cleveland for possession of 200 grams of marijuana and a 1998 citation in Los Angeles for less than an ounce of marijuana. In 2007, he was arrested in Sweden for suspected cocaine possession, though charges were dropped. The 2001 case resulted in a no-contest plea and a $250 fine. What's genius about Snoop's approach is how he flipped the script. Snoop's arrest added to his public image as a cannabis advocate, which he embraced rather than resisted, as seen in his brand ventures like Leafs by Snoop. While the repeated legal issues put strain on his personal life, including his marriage, he used his legal troubles to enhance his gangsta image, appealing to his fan base. Snoop's career thrived despite the charges. His albums maintained commercial success, and his legal troubles enhanced his brand. Like GloRilla's merchandise leveraging her mugshot, Snoop capitalized on his legal issues by integrating them into his brand, though his established status made recovery easier than for GloRilla, who's earlier in her career. Then there's Tim Allen, who shows what can happen when someone gets caught before they blow up. In 1978, before his fame as a comedian and actor, actor. Tim Allen was arrested at a Michigan airport for felony possession of over a pound of cocaine. He pleaded guilty to drug trafficking charges, serving over 2 years in prison. Allen's arrest was a low point, occurring before his entertainment career took off. The prison time forced him to confront his drug use, leading to sobriety and a focus on comedy as a path forward. Unlike GloRilla, whose arrest occurred mid-career, Allen's happened pre-fame, making its personal impact more formative than publicly damaging. The felony conviction had minimal professional impact because Allen was not yet a public figure. After his release, he built a successful career with Home Improvement and Toy Story, though the conviction initially limited some opportunities due to background checks. So what can GloRilla learn from all these experiences? First off, most artists, Bowie, Snoop Dogg, Lil Wayne, faced reduced charges or probation, avoiding significant jail time, which allowed career continuity. GloRilla's release on $22,260 bond and her team's assertion of innocence suggest a similar strategy to minimize legal consequences. What's also clear is that artists like Snoop Dogg and Notorious Big leveraged their legal troubles to enhance their authentic personas, similar to GloRilla's mugshot merchandise and fan support on X. The key is knowing how to control the narrative and turn controversy into credibility. Established artists, Lil Wayne, Snoop Dogg, Bowie, weathered felony charges better than emerging artists might, as their fan bases and industry clout provided buffers. GloRilla, still building her career, faces higher risks if the case escalates, though her fan support and proactive response mirror successful strategies of others. But there's something unique about GloRilla's situation that sets her apart from these other cases. Unlike many of these artists, GloRilla's charges stem from a home invasion, not direct possession during a stop or raid, which allows her to frame herself as a victim. Her prior 2024 DUI arrest parallels Lil Wayne and Snoop Dogg's repeated legal issues, suggesting a need for careful management to avoid a pattern. The modern media landscape also works in her favor in ways that it didn't for older artists. The modern media landscape and stricter drug laws in Georgia could amplify consequences compared to older cases. For example, Bowie's in the 1970s, but her merchandise and social media strategy align with Snoop Dogg's branding approach. What's also worth noting is that drug-related arrests often coincided with personal battles, addiction for Lil Wayne, stress for Biggie, highlighting the need for support systems. GloRilla's narrative as a burglary victim may help her avoid personal stigma, but ongoing legal stress could impact her mental health, as seen with others. The pattern that emerges from studying these cases is that music stars like Lil Wayne, Notorious Big, David Bowie, Snoop Dogg, and Tim Allen faced felony drug possession charges with varying personal and professional impacts. Most avoided severe penalties, maintaining career momentum through fan support, legal resolutions, and strategic branding. Personally, these incidents often prompted reflection or recovery, though stress and public scrutiny were common. GloRilla's case shares similarities: fan loyalty, a proactive narrative, and merchandise. But her early career status and Georgia's legal environment pose unique risks. The real lesson here is that GloRilla's ability to resolve the case favorably and continue producing music will be critical to mirroring the resilience of these artists. The hip-hop game has shown time and time again that legal troubles don't have to end careers. They can actually strengthen them if handled correctly. What makes GloRilla's situation even more compelling is how she's already applying some of these lessons without probably even realizing it. Just like Snoop turned his cannabis arrest into a whole brand empire, GloRilla is flipping her mugshot into merchandise. Just like Wayne kept dropping music during his legal battles, she's staying active and visible. Just like Biggie used his street credibility to fuel his art, she's using her victim narrative to connect with fans on a deeper level. But the game has changed since these OG artists were dealing with their cases. Social media wasn't around when Biggie was fighting charges, and Bowie didn't have Twitter to control his narrative. GloRilla has tools at her disposal that previous generations of artists could only dream of. The ability to speak directly to millions of fans without any filter, to shape public opinion in real time, and to turn controversy into content instantly. The flip side is that the legal system has also evolved, and not always in favor of defendants. Georgia's drug laws are stricter now than they were in some of these older cases, and the political climate around criminal justice can be less forgiving. But GloRilla has something that many of these other artists didn't have in their cases: a clear victim narrative that's hard to dispute. Think about it. Wayne got caught with drugs on his tour bus. That's on him. Snoop got pulled over with weed in his car. That's his choice. Bowie got arrested after a concert with drugs. That's the rock and roll lifestyle. But GloRilla, she called the police for help after her house got invaded, and they found drugs during the investigation. That's a completely different story, and it's one that resonates with people who have felt betrayed by the system. This sentiment captures something important: the feeling that your home should be your sanctuary, that calling the police for help shouldn't result in your own prosecution, and that the system should be focused on protecting victims, not criminalizing them. What's also different about GloRilla's case compared to these historical examples is the broader cultural conversation happening right now about criminal justice reform, police priorities, and racial bias in the legal system. When Bowie got arrested in 1976, these conversations weren't happening in the mainstream. When Wayne was dealing with his cases in the 2000s, social media wasn't amplifying every injustice, but GloRilla's arrest is happening at a time when people are already questioning the system, already looking for examples of how it fails people, already primed to see cases like hers as emblematic of bigger problems. The other artists who navigated drug charges successfully did so by maintaining their authenticity, keeping their fan base engaged, and continuing to create art that resonated with people. GloRilla is already doing all of these things. Her response to the arrest has been authentic and unfiltered. Her fan base is more engaged than ever, and she's continuing to perform and stay visible in the culture. But perhaps most importantly, she's learned from the mistakes of others. She's not hiding from the controversy. She's embracing it. She's not letting lawyers do all the talking. She's controlling her own narrative. She's not treating this as a career-ending disaster. She's treating it as another chapter in her story. The historical precedent suggests that if GloRilla can resolve her legal case favorably, whether through dismissal, plea deal, or even acquittal, and continue making music that connects with people, this arrest could actually strengthen her career rather than hurt it. The victim narrative, combined with her authentic response and strong fan support, creates a foundation for long-term success that many of the other artists in similar situations didn't have. But the key will be learning from both the successes and failures of those who came before her. Wayne showed how to maintain productivity during legal troubles, but also demonstrated the personal costs of repeated arrests. Snoop showed how to turn controversy into brand strength, but also faced real consequences in terms of travel restrictions and venue limitations. Biggie showed how legal troubles could enhance street credibility, but also dealt with increased stress and paranoia. The lesson for GloRilla seems clear. Use this experience to strengthen her connection with fans, continue creating music that reflects her reality, and don't let the legal system define her narrative. If she can do that while resolving her case favorably, she'll join the ranks of artists who turn their legal troubles into career fuel rather than career killers. And real talk, the hip-hop community has always respected artists who kept it 100 when things got rough. GloRilla's response to this whole situation, from her social media posts to her merchandise to her continued performances, shows that she understands this fundamental truth about the culture. In hip-hop, authenticity trumps perfection every time, and vulnerability can be more powerful than invincibility. The streets are watching, the fans are supporting, and the culture is paying attention. If GloRilla can navigate this legal challenge while staying true to herself and her art, she might not just survive this controversy, she might thrive because of it. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to watch another fascinating video like this, click on one of the boxes on your screen right now.